Hello and welcome to Pharma Television News Review here at the LESI conference in London 2011. On this show, I have Tony Venturino, who is a partner at a company called Novak Druce, a law firm. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tony, you're a patent lawyer.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about what your practice actually is?
It's mostly what they call patent prosecution and procurement. So you're writing, and then after you write the case and file it, try and get the thing allowed.
Sure. And does that involve patent strategies as well?
Oh, yes. There's a lot of planning involved in where a company is going to go with what kind of industries they want to get into and then what kind of protection they want for those industries.
And your advice is not just only for, obviously, your US-based firm, but your advice is international advice?
In general, and if I get in over my head, I contact somebody in the appropriate country.
Where necessary?
Right.
Okay. So your prosecution of patents includes, obviously, pharmaceuticals and biotechnology, but are you outside that field as well?
A lot of chemistry, and then a lot of miscellaneous things, like today I'll be working on a motorcycle patent after the conference is finished.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, one of the panel discussions you're going to be involved in here at this conference is on the emerging markets.
Correct.
And as a person who practices and has an extensive experience with patents and the ups and downs of trying to get patents through and so forth, when we look at the emerging markets and you're advising your clients, what do you see as the key issues?
Well, it's going to be what kind of protection you can get, but a lot depends on what you plan on doing in those markets. Are you buying from them? Are you selling to them? Are you going to go in there with partners, or are you going in there on your own? And there'll be different ways of looking at it. The common way of where you're going in and you're trying to sell to the market, either products or your technology, sometimes takes a lot of patience.
Sure. And those markets are changing.
They're constantly evolving.
And obviously from a commercial perspective, but also some of these emerging markets have only recently adopted WTO standards and are now competent enough to be able to accept the patent process. But they're still untried to some extent. Does that make your advice different?
Oh, well, it will, because in some cases the patents are much more valuable than others. Interestingly enough, some countries, trademarks and copyrights are the most valuable thing.
Sure. And sometimes people argue, well, it doesn't really matter if you have a patent in those particular territories, because in the end it's your brand and your marketing clout that will
That's where the trademarks and the copyrights come in, right? It's getting that name out. Very important.
Sure. And your own experiences with Brazil, how do you see Brazil evolving now from your client's perspective? Is this really one of the key strongest economies, and is this the right time to get into Brazil?
It's a great economy. It's growing, growing middle class, and I'd say, especially if you're in the chemicals kind of an area or oil service company, it's a phenomenal time to get involved.
Sure. And one of the important things, of course, is when you do a deal in those territories with other local companies, if they have a share in the intellectual property rights in some form, does that make the task a lot easier?
Typically it's good to have that local partner.
Sure. And when you look at as a patent lawyer looking into the future and seeing the world economy evolve, what do you think are still the key issues that need to be resolved?
Well, in some places it's stability, but of the local government, whatever that might be. I think respect for the IP rights, a realization that there is such a thing in the more really undeveloped areas. A lot of it right now is very much personal relationships, and the IP rights are as good as your connections, unfortunately.
Sure.
But that's another thing, is to really develop personal relationships almost anywhere you go, because they're always going to come in very valuable.
And they're really historically the way in which you actually protected your position within a particular territory is through relationships rather than through traditional patents and copyright.
It really can be. And if it's not a direct one-on-one relationship, it's that maybe your new partner knows just how to do things in that country.
Tony Venturino, thank you very much indeed for coming on the show.
You're welcome.